Hello all, my name is Kayla Leist and I'm a senior here at Marshall University. Today I will be discussing communication in the workplace, specifically an article titled Communication in the Workplace, Guidelines for Improving Effectiveness, published in the Global Institute for Research and Education, Volume 3. This article was published in 2014, and it was written by Akua Ahaya Adu-Opin and Emmanuel Ajian Bareki Korang. In today's speech, I will be going through the themes and objectives of the article, which are communication, channels of communication, importance of communication, barriers to effective communication, and how this pertains to our course. So let's get right into it and talk about communication. The authors of this article define communication as the process of transmitting information and common understanding from one person to another. What the authors really mean by this is how we relay ideas and thoughts to others. Communication involves relaying information, but also receiving it. To work effectively, communication is give and take. This leads us to our second objective, channels of communication. In other words, this is how we communicate with one another. First, we have verbal. This is spoken words from one person to another. Next is nonverbal, which could be gestures, body language, or facial expressions. There's also written communication. This can mean, commuting by letter, bulletin boards, memos, pamphlets, and books, just to name a few. Lastly, there is electronic communication. This can be done by email, text message, telephone call, social media, and more. Now that we know what communication is and understand how it's achieved, let's talk about the importance of communication in the workplace. First, we have job satisfaction. If an employee feels they are in a friendly environment where there is open communication between coworkers and superiors, that makes for a happy employee. In turn, the employee feels satisfied. This goes hand in hand with lesser conflicts. When there is a sense of comfortability and open communication, there is less room for conflict to arise. Communication in the workplace is also known to increase productivity. If one feels their work is meaningless, they will most likely show no effort. If an employee is given specific goals to meet, they will be more motivated to get things accomplished. Next is formation of relationships. Open communication through the workplace leads to positive workplace relationships. Having open communication makes employees feel valued and cared for, which lead to workplace friendships and loyalty. Lastly, utilization of resources. If an organization faces problems with workflow and miscommunication, things can turn sour fast. To better utilize resources and time given, open communication prevents mistakes and unnecessary delays. This leads us to our next objective, which is barriers in communicating in the workplace. The authors of this article recognize two major barriers when it comes to communication in the workplace. These are environmental and personal. Some examples of environmental barriers include time. This may prevent a specific task from getting completed. Another is managerial styles. Some managers may not be interested in giving feedback, whether it is good or bad. This leaves employees feeling lost and unappreciated. Another example is terminology barriers. For example, if a doctor is communicating something to his staff, he or she may not understand some of the terms the doctor is using. This leaves the employee feeling confused and may lead to miscommunication to a patient or a patient's medical record. Barrier number 2 is personal. Personal barriers may include things like beliefs and values, lack of empathy, economic and social background, just to name a few. The example to explain personal barriers given in the article is some cultures believe in do not speak unless spoken to, or never question your elders. These inhibit communication in a major way. So now that we have discussed the article, how does that relate to our course? Well, our course description, as given on the introduction page of the course, reads in part, this course focuses on communication competencies of professionals entering the workplace in that first post-college career. I find that this article helps elaborate on that topic and gives examples that we may not have seen in our textbook. In other words, it may further our knowledge on the topic. Chapter 1 of our text is titled Communication at the Workplace, First Principles, and discussing similar topics to this article, such as establishing who you are in the workplace and what you have to offer through communication, credibility, and influence. That is all for me today. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation.